Was good, y'all? Rich Sosa back in the building with another banger, man. So, look, first things first, thank you to the man upstairs. Thank y'all for your support. And, man, y'all already know what y'all need to do. Be sure to hit that sub button if you're new. Anybody looking to join the Rich Gang family RGF, be sure to go ahead and turn on post notifications, hit that like button as well as leave a comment down below. And y'all most definitely know that I got y'all with the response. So, the build that I'm bringing y'all today is going to be a very rare build name. Going to be called the two-way mid-range shooter, y'all. And I'm telling you, with this build, you're going to be able to do everything that you want when it comes down to the offensive end, but most definitely the defensive end with that two-way name. So, to get started, the very first thing that y'all want to go ahead and do is, of course, put this build under the small forward position. When it comes to the jersey number, be sure to put number 1 because this is the number 1 build of this version coming out to y'all. And now, let's go ahead and get into the breakdown of the pie charts and also something to really consider about this build. When you go ahead and find out what the badge count is going to be looking like, very balanced, overpowered, and all around just a good build. Now, as for the pie chart that y'all want to go ahead and pick, please be specific. And the reason why I say that is because if you go with anything other than what I'm going to show y'all, you are risk at not getting the build name. So, there's a lot of good pie charts this year to pick from, but the one that I decided to go with for this specific build is going to be one with, of course, shooting as well as defense in it. But this one is actually going to be much different. We're going to go with the one that has a little bit more shooting than the defensive end. So the red and green pie chart with a little bit more green. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the physical profile real quick. When it comes down to this, you're going to go ahead and pick the one either that has the most speed, or you can definitely go ahead and pick the fourth one as well for a much higher vertical, and you're only taking about a 3 or 4 hit to the speed section, y'all. For me, I would have to say I really like the one with the vertical. Really going to be helpful on the defensive end, especially with snagging boards, so that is why I decided to go with this one. And also, even in past videos, I tend to like to go with this one because honestly, if you're going to have a good speed when it's all said and done, why worry about that? And when it comes to the vertical as well, this is just going to be much more helpful all around for this build. So when it comes down to the finishing, I'm going to go with a close shot of 83. Driving layup is going to be a 67. Driving dunk, a 70, which means we're going to be able to get the park dunks, you know, between the legs dunks and even some contact dunks. It shows it in the game most definitely, so do not worry about that. But if you want the actual contact dunks, you need to get somewhere around an 84 driving dunk. But for this one, this build is going to be solid all around because you're going to max out that standing dunk. And that's going to give you 5 finishing badges. Now let's go ahead and get on to the shooting. This is a two-way mid-range shooter, of course. So what you want to go ahead and do is max out the mid-range as well as the three-pointer. That's going to give you 15 badges right there. So honestly, really solid lockdown build. Now, when it comes down to the playmaking, pass accuracy is going to be a 75. Ball handle going to go up to a 68. And then finally, when it comes down to the post control, I wanted to be very specific with the badge count on the playmaking. So I'm going to go with a post control of 47. That's going to give you 7 playmaking badges, so really solid. I'm going to leave it as is, but if you want to change it, you definitely can do so. Now, when it comes down to the defensive end, here is where things are going to get even better. Perimeter defense, go ahead and max it out to an 80. As for the lateral quickness, you most definitely want to go ahead and max this out. Steal, same exact thing. We're going to go ahead and put that to an 80. And now, what we got left is going to be the block and both offensive as well as a defensive rebound. So I'm going to go with a 70 block, and already we're getting 14 defensive badges. And then from here, I'm first going to go ahead and max out that defensive rebound at 77. That's going to give us 18 defensive badges, and this is pretty much what the badge count is going to be looking like. You get 5 finishing, 15 shooting, 7 playmaking, and then 18 defensive, y'all. Honestly, I can say this build is going to be very helpful for anybody who does not know how to play this game that well. And the reason why I say that is because this build is going to be able to do everything that you want. You can clearly see that the finishing is all around. The shooting is most definitely there. Playmaking is going to get even better over time, so do not worry. And then most definitely, the defense is pretty overpowered for this kind of build. So honestly, all around, I really like this build. And also on top of all that, when it comes down to this body shape, I would go with either Burley, to take up the most space, or even built or defined. Now for the height, 6'7" is looking really nice, even 6'6", but honestly, the more height, the better when it comes down to the defensive end. So I decided to go ahead and leave this build at 6'7". And now when it comes down to the weight, of course, you want to go ahead and try to aim for the maximum speed possible. So if you decide to go ahead and lower all the way, bring it up from 180 to 189, this is going to be the perfect way to go about it. If you go anything higher into the 190s, you're going to start taking a hit on your physicals, and that is something that we definitely do not want. Now when it comes down to the wingspan, you got to be very specific with this, because honestly, this build can change up the build name if you decide to go with something else. So I'm going to go with 87.0, and as you can see, we get the 70 threshold for the driving dunk, which is going to allow us to maintain park dunks at all times, which is very toxic. Now, especially with this kind of build, you're overpowered on the shooting side as well as the defensive end, and then the takeovers to pair it up with, we get the sharp shooting, then we also get the lockdown, and on top of all that, we get the playmaking to break ankles, but also with the shot creating, we're going to be able to break ankles as well. It really comes down on your personal preference. You can go back and forth with seeing which one you would rather take, and remember, each of these takeovers is going to give you a +10 to your attributes of that certain area of the build. I'm going to go with shot creating takeover to get that boost for the shooting and breaking ankles, and as y'all can see, we have made a two-way mid-range shooter build, y'all. This honestly reminds me of a Khris Middleton build, because he is such an all-around player, and on top of all that, you are not going to struggle in one area of this build. As long as you know what you are doing, this is definitely going to be one of the most rare and overpowered lockdown builds that you're going to be seeing, considering the fact that it's a two-way. But now, let's go ahead and consider what this build is going to be looking like. So remember, you get a +4 once you get to 99 overall. Then also, if you run with teammates that have floor general as well as defensive leader, another +4 to your offensive end and defensive end. So far, +8, and then on top of all that, if you buy boost, that's another +4. So far, that's a +12 to every single attribute on this category of the build. And then consider the fact you're going to have that shot creating takeover, which is a +10 to your shooting. So essentially, in takeover, you're going to be able to get a 99 mid-range shot as well as a 99 three-pointer. Then our free throw is going to be up in the 70s to 80s. So really, you have nothing to worry about on this build. You're getting a huge boost to every other stat on this build as well. So just something to consider when it comes down to it. Remember, that's with boost, running with the correct teammates of floor general and defensive leader and Hall of Fame, and then also running with a pure 99 overall build, getting that +4. Now, when it comes to the finishing, I'm going with posterizer on gold as well as fearless finisher. That's just to set up the IC most that makes sense. Now, let's go ahead and get into the playmaking. You got to be very specific with what you pick here, because honestly, you do not want to risk being able to not dribble on this build. So for me, there's a couple badges that come to mind. First, of course, handles for days, essential whether you put it on gold or silver. But from here, you can go with silver quick chain as well as silver hyperdrive, or go with one of these gold badges. It just comes down to your own preference. Again, just know if you wanted to, you could even go with silver handles for days, then go ahead and throw on unpluckable on bronze. Again, even quick first step is another badge that you can consider to put on. For me, I'm going to leave it on gold handles for days, and that is pretty much the way that I would go about it. Let's go ahead and get into the shooting now. So most definitely remember, we're going to be able to get Hall of Fame badges when it comes down to this category. So go ahead and put on Hot Zone Hunter on Hall of Fame, of course. Then from here, this really comes down to your own preference, but for me, I'm going to go ahead and throw on another Hall of Fame badge, which is going to be Sniper. So honestly, like I said, it just comes down to your own preference and what you want to do. For my own, I would say silver blinders is going to be perfect. And then also, I'm going to run with silver corner specialist and bronze deadeye. From here, to spread the wealth, I'm going to go with green machine as well as volume shooter, but you can definitely change this up to your own preference. I'm just trying to go ahead and add the most amount of badges that I possibly can in order to raise my shooting percentages. Let's go ahead and get into the defensive end now. We get gold badges in this area, so honestly, that means you're going to be able to get at least 6 badges in total if you put them on the max tier. I'm going to go ahead and start it off with Intimidator. Then from here, you cannot forget about Rim Protector, and even I would really consider Rebound Chaser as well as Chase on Artist. These are just some of the main badges that I like to run on my own build. Again, if you have another preference of your own, go ahead and run it based off of how you would like it yourself. But from here, you cannot forget about clamps, and then one other badge that I would consider is going to be either Hustler menace, or you can spread the wealth with going with interceptor or even pogo stick. All of these are some really good options. It just comes down to what you like most for yourself, y'all. But now this is pretty much the setup that we would be going with. We're gonna have 5 finishing badges, 15 shooting, then we get 7 playmaking, as well as to end it off we get 18 defensive, y'all. That's pretty much the video, man. So thank y'all to those of you who decided to make it to the end. Go ahead and drop a like, but man, y'all already know what y'all need to do. Be sure to hit that sub button if you're new, hit that like button, drop a comment in the comment section, RGF, as well as turn on post notifications. I hope y'all like how I've been doing videos now, going back and forth each and every day between current as well as next gen, just to spice it up a little bit. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all to the man upstairs. Most definitely thank you, God. And man, with all that being said, I got one last thing to say. Thank God and Rich out.